After my dad's business in Bangkok, Thailand flourished, our family made the collective decision to relocate there. We were fortunate enough to acquire a splendid residence, resembling more of a mansion than a simple house, with ample space to accommodate our needs. Nestled within this grand abode was a captivating garden, akin to a courtyard, which lent an aura of tranquility to the surroundings. However, despite its inherent beauty, the garden possessed an air of abandonment and desolation, as though it had been neglected for an extended period. Upon stepping through the entrance, a somber ambiance enveloped us, dampening our spirits. The courtyard, once vibrant and alive, was now adorned with decaying rambutan fruits, their disintegrating presence casting a pall over the atmosphere. Witnessing this unpleasant scene, my dad resolved to restore the place to its former glory. Additionally, recognizing the need for assistance, he decided to employ a dedicated helper lady to aid us in our endeavors. It was the first night after we moved into our new house, and both my parents and I had a restful night without any issues. However, the next morning, my sister's reaction was quite peculiar, which was somewhat expected considering the recent move. Moving can often disrupt sleep and make one feel uneasy due to changes in the bed or surroundings. But the reason we had anticipated wasn't because of the move. My sister looked gloomy and asked Mom to switch rooms with her, complaining about having a sleepless night. She explained that she couldn't sleep at all because the trees outside were vigorously shaking in the wind. Her room had an interesting feature. It was connected to the courtyard, and one entire wall facing the courtyard was made of glass. Through that glass window, one could see the courtyard. Throughout the night, there was a constant noise emanating from the courtyard. In her attempt to fall asleep, my sister closed her eyes, but she kept hearing a repetitive noises. It seemed like something was swaying near the courtyard window. She assumed it was caused by the shaking trees. Despite trying to ignore it and go back to sleep, the persistent whooshing noises made it impossible for her to rest. Moreover, the whooshing sound didn't cease throughout the night and grew increasingly irritating. At first, it sounded like branches brushing against each other, but gradually, it sounded more like something digging the ground. Upon hearing my sister's complaints, Mom called the helper lady and asked if she had cleaned the courtyard or engaged in any activities the previous night. However, the housemaid swears that she had gone to bed early and hadn't done anything in the courtyard. Unable to find any other explanation, the next morning came. My sister, trembling with fear, went to find Mom.
"What's wrong, honey?"
My sister, while sleeping, had heard a scratching noises coming from somewhere. Mom assured her that she must have misheard or dreamt it and told her not to worry. However, my sister insisted and swore she heard the scratching noises. Where is this noise coming from? She wondered. She tried to locate the source of the noise, peeking out from under the blanket, and was shocked to see something that made her faint. The next day, when my sister woke up, she glanced at the window, but there was no sign of anything on the courtyard window. My sister pleaded,
"Mom, I'm really scared of this house. I don't want to live here anymore. Let's move."
"But we just moved here."
Mom was right. We just moved here, and realistically, there wasn't much we can do at the moment. So instead, Mom comforted my little sister and encouraged her to have some patience a little until she gets used to the new surroundings. In response, my sister suggested that all three of us, her, me, and Mom, sleep together in her room that night. Reluctantly, my mom agreed and asked me to do the same. She hugged my crying little sister tightly, trying to provide comfort. That night, we all gathered in my sister's room to sleep. Contrary to our worries, there was no sound or anything coming from the courtyard window. Finally, I can go to sleep and close my eyes. However, even with my eyes closed, there was something flickering, persistently catching my attention. It seemed to be right in front of my closed eyes. Curiosity got the better of me. so I cautiously opened my eyes just a little. And to my surprise, I saw a pitch-black figures. It wasn't a mere tree shadow or an animal. It was something else entirely. Suddenly, with a loud thud, this pitch-black figure attached itself to the window. Another figure followed suit, then another and another, sticking themselves onto the glass window, fixating their gaze upon my family and me. Their eyes lacked pupils, adding to their unsettling appearance. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, these black figures gradually became more discernible. The sight froze me in place. The figures seemed to be melting, as if their flesh were liquefying and dripping. Multiple hands moved across the window, shifting positions in an attempt to gain a better view. Each movement made loud thuds, and their eerie sounds filled the air, sending chills down my spine. I was so terrified that I couldn't even muster a scream. My hand instinctively covered my mouth as silent tears streamed down my face. At that moment, my mom swiftly grabbed me and my little sister, rushing us out of the room. We clung to each other tightly as we escaped, spending the night together. After that terrifying experience, it became impossible for us to continue living in that house. Consequently, we made the decision to move. Not long after, to my surprise, the helper lady and her family approached us. I was taken aback by their sudden approach, as she had never been so hasty before. I couldn't help but wonder what was going on. As it turned out, the helper lady had heard something from another helper lady who lived in the neighboring house. It seemed that there was a haunting history associated with the mansion we were in. About 50 years ago, a family of 4 had lived here, but tragically, they perished in an unexplained fire shortly after moving in. The people in the neighborhood had taken care of their bodies and buried them in the courtyard, the same courtyard we could see through the window of my sister's bedroom. It sent chills down my spine to learn that the lady from the neighboring house also described the bodies at the time of burial, which were hauntingly similar to what we had witnessed that fateful night. Upon hearing this story, it was only natural to be shocked. The thought of corpses being buried in the house we lived in was absolutely horrifying. My dad, overcome by a frenzied determination, hastily grabbed a shovel and made his way to the courtyard. He began digging near the rambutan tree, tirelessly digging the earthy soil. As he continued digging, the shovel suddenly struck a solid object, leaving my dad and onlookers momentarily speechless. Their eyes widened in disbelief as they beheld what lay beneath. It became evident that the area beneath the rambutan tree was tightly packed with cement, further confirming the occurrence of a truly tragic event. Those poor souls, were they trying to tell us something?